I am on a mission to read my entire physical TBR. I recently went through a bookshelf purge and only kept the books I'm the most excited to read. I am convinced that my next favorite book is somewhere on my shelves. So, over the course of this series, my goal is to get my TBR from 250 books all the way down to 0.
Hey friends, welcome back to my channel and welcome to episode 6 of TBR Tackle. This episode, I have enlisted the help of a bunch of my booktube friends to pick books off of my physical TBR for me to read. But before I tell you guys what everyone has picked, it has been a while since my last TBR Tackle episode, so I have a bunch of updates of things that I have read in between now and the last episode. I have 11 TBR Tackle books that I have read. Pretty much all of these I read in other vlogs, or you have already heard me talk about them in my wrap-up, so I won't go into too much detail about all of them. We have Raiders of the Lost Heart, Games with the Orc, Mercy, Devon and Chris Plan a Wedding, Work for It, Two Twisted Crowns, Don't Fear the Reaper, A Most Agreeable Murder, Till Death Do Us Barred, Love on the Brain, and The Second Rebel. I'm gonna add all these to the shelf. I'm actually gonna be putting them down here because, as you can see behind me, the shelf is filling up. So that brings my current total of physical TBR books to 155. I have asked 5 different booktubers to select books for me. So the booktubers who are picking books for me are Gavin, Jordaline, Katie, Jan, and Aaron. I will link all of them down below. They are all booktubers that I love. Before I found out what they picked for me, I actually filmed myself guessing what I thought each booktuber would pick for me. I kind of wanted to make it like a little bit of a game for myself to see if I could predict what everyone would pick. And it kind of required 2 different skills. One, how well I know what each of them has read, but also how well I know what their motivations behind picking something would be, because I didn't give anyone any like parameters of what I wanted them to pick. Like, I didn't say you have to pick a book you've read or you have to pick a favorite book. One of them could have been a chaos agent and picked books that they didn't even like. I gave them the list and said, pick whatever you want. So before I reveal what each book is, I will share what my guess was, and then we will see if I was right. Katie Coulson, off the top of my head, I could see her picking Someone You Can Build a Nest In. I think that was one of her favorite books of last year, so I wouldn't be surprised if she picked that. Ooh, maybe like Temper by Lane Fargo. She's actually the only person I know of who has read that book. I think she really liked it. When people talk about Lane Fargo, they usually talk about They Never Learn, but I'm pretty sure I've heard Katie talk about Temper. Those are my 2 guesses. Beyond those 2, I don't know. Maybe I do have a Mona Awad on my physical TBR. I have All's Well. I actually don't know though if she liked that one. I know she loves Bunny, obviously. I don't know if she liked All's Well. So that one's like, I'm not sure about that one. The book that Katie picked for me, I really fucked up. I should have seen this one coming. I didn't even think about it. And anyone watching this who is familiar with Katie and her content and the books that she has read probably could have guessed this one, but for some reason it just did not even pop into my head. But she picked The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman. This is the sequel to The Thursday Murder Club. So I read book 1 and I actually wasn't the biggest fan of book 1. I think I gave it 3 stars. It was fine. I wasn't like obsessed with it. And so I think the reason that I didn't even think about this one is because I forgot it was still on my TBR, actually. I actually thought that I unhauled it. I forgot it was still on there. So leave it to Katie Coulson to find the one book that I thought I unhauled from my list. So I was not correct on my guess for Katie, but I think if I had remembered that this was on my TBR, I could have guessed that she picked it, but I just completely forgot. Jordaline, in theory, feels easy. Like, I just want to say she's gonna pick a horror, and if I had to say which horror she would pick, I feel like maybe Queen of Teeth by Haley Piper. So that's my guess. If Jordaline picks a horror, my guess is Queen of Teeth. However, I also know Jordaline loves gay fantasy, and I have quite a bit of gay fantasy on my TBR. So she could pick one of those. There's so many on there, I don't know which one, but I'm gonna go Queen of Teeth or gay fantasy. Final answer. Jordaline, I actually kind of got my guess right. I really was convinced that she was gonna pick Queen of Teeth. Like, if I had to put money on it, I thought she was gonna pick Queen of Teeth because she's one of the only booktubers that I think I've ever heard talk about that book. But my other guess was gay fantasy, and that is what she picked, A Taste of Golden Iron by Alexander Rowland, which is a gay fantasy. And I'm so excited to read this. I've put this on so many TBRs. I've intended to read it for years, and I think I've just always been slightly intimidated because it's long. I'm very excited to read this. Gavin, Gavin's very difficult. I'm gonna guess maybe Someone You Can Build a Nest In. I think there's a high likelihood that one of the booktubers is gonna pick this. I'm pretty sure Gavin also loved it. Other than that, I don't know what off of my TBR Gavin has loved. It does feel like cheating to pick Someone You Can Build a Nest In for 2 people, but I'm gonna go with it. Gavin was definitely someone who I thought could be my curveball. I really did not have a super solid guess on what I thought he would pick. I also think I don't have his book taste pinned down as much as some of these other booktubers. It's kind of a wild card with like what he reads and what he loves. So this definitely threw me for a curveball. There's no way I ever could have guessed that he would pick this, but he picked The Lies of Lamora by Scott Lynch. Wow, not only did he pick one of the longest books on my TBR, he picked one of the books that I have owned the longest. I've had this for at least 10 years. So Gavin's pick is The Lies of Lamora. I never in a million years could have guessed that. There was another book he was considering picking. I don't know what it was, but he had like a backup option, and I'm wondering if that was Someone You Can Build a Nest In, because he said there was a second option that he thought other booktubers might pick, so he wanted to go with one he didn't think other booktubers would pick. And I'm like, was the other book Someone You Can Build a Nest In? Gavin, you'll have to let me know. The 2 people that I thought might pick Someone You Could Build a Nest In did not. Okay, Erin, I am really confident that she is gonna pick Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, but as a backup answer, I think that she could also pick like a fantasy sequel, because I have this like the sequels to a lot of fantasy books. Like I could see her picking Jade War by Fonda Lee, or one of the N.K. Jemisin books. Okay, this is my answer. I think she's gonna pick Assassin's Apprentice. My backup is a fantasy sequel, and I'm gonna lock it in. Erin, I was pretty like positive what she was gonna pick. I was so like, I was willing to stake money that it was gonna be Assassin's Apprentice, and she did. So this is the only book that I was pretty confident about, which is another book that I've had for over 10 years. These booktubers, they said, get those books off your TBR. Okay, Jan, I'm definitely struggling with the most, because I feel like there's not necessarily like specific books that I associate with Jan. It's more so a vibe. Like I associate Jan with like literary horror, weird girl books, unhinged horror books. But I know she reads so much outside of that as well. I don't know why Boy Parts by Eliza Clark is coming to me. I don't even know if Jan has read that. I'm trying to think of the books that Jan and I have in common, of like things that we love. Maybe she would pick All's Well by Mona Awad. I don't know. I'm feeling the least confident about these picks, but those are my guesses. I'm not confident about them. Okay, lastly, we have Jan, who was another one that I just could not fully pin down. Jan reads so much and such a wide range of things. I really didn't have any idea. She ended up picking King of Wrath by Anna Huang, which is a romance book, and the only romance book that any of these booktubers picked for me. Why aren't any of them giving me romance? They're all giving me long fantasies. So thank you, Jan, for coming through with a romance. I was very glad to have a romance amongst this whole TBR. So when it comes to guessing what all these booktubers were gonna pick for me, I think I was mostly wrong. The only one I got right was Erin, and then I slightly was right on Jordan, but I don't even think I can count that, because I was just like, oh, she'll pick a gay fantasy, which is like almost my entire TBR. 1 out of 5 is a horrible ratio for my guessing, but I did my best, I really did. Before we get into the vlog, I have very exciting news. Look, they're all coming to hear my news. Next month is the 3-year anniversary of me having my Patreon. And in celebration, I wanted to kind of like rebrand, refresh my whole Patreon. So this video is being sponsored by my Patreon. So if you're not interested in hearing about any of this, that is fine. Go ahead and skip forward to the rest of the vlog. But I wanted to kind of reintroduce my Patreon to you guys for anyone who doesn't know about it. I wanted to make my cottagecore dreams come to life. So I'm now inviting you to join my Patreon, aka The Cottage. And all of my tiers have also been renamed. We have the strawberry shortcakes, the daisies, and the honeybees. So everything in my Patreon is now like cottagecore themed. I tried to put on my most cottagecore-y outfit today. I just wanted something that felt very like on brand for me, and being a cottagecore fairy princess, is all I want in life. So along with that, I have sort of changed up my tiers a bit, changed up a lot of the things that I'm offering, added some new things. So I actually have this graphic right here that very easily details out everything that I offer on Patreon and what each tier gets. I do live reading sprints over there all of the time, which are so much fun. Usually I do them by myself, but I also have guests on them, like other booktubers. We do readathons over there. We have a private Discord, which is probably my favorite thing in the whole Patreon. I love my Discord community so much. And I am very, very active in my Discord. Some may say too active. We have a bi-monthly book club, which for May and June, we are reading Overgrowth by Mira Grant. One of the new perks that I am adding into it is that I am starting to do short form content. I have never been a short form content person, but I'm dipping my toe into it. So I'm doing a lot of like more casual vertical videos that are about like one topic, one random thing I want to ramble about, like doing my nails, making like a coffee recipe that I have. Basically making the content that I would put on TikTok if I had a TikTok, but TikTok actually kind of scares me. But I also make long form exclusive content. I have a whole library of like 70 plus videos on there that I've made that you can only find on Patreon, and I post new ones every month. Those include things like spoiler book vlogs, more like lifestyle content, lifestyle vlogs. I'm doing a vlog series on there right now where I read vampire books. A lot of like random things that don't really fit on my main channel. So if you would like to check it out, the link is down below. I put a lot of time and love into my Patreon, and I understand it's not in everyone's budget. So if you are someone who just supports me here on YouTube, that still means the world to me. But for anyone who is looking for extra content or would like to join my little cottage community, the link is down below. You can check it out. I would love to have your support over there. Thank you guys for taking a minute to listen to this little Patreon spiel. The next step in my life is that I actually need to get a cottage and become a beekeeper. We're gonna collectively manifest that for me. Okay, I'm here with my first update on the Lives of Lamora because I have made it to book 2, which is about 150 pages in. And I gotta say, I am optimistically enjoying this book. We're following this thief named Lamora. The book starts out when he is like 6 years old, and he was orphaned and he caused trouble at the orphanage that he was at. And so the guy who was in charge of him was either gonna kill him or needed to sell him. So he sells him to this eyeless priest, and that is where Locke is going to spend the majority of his life, with this priest and this like gang of thieves. And then in the main timeline, we're following Locke when he's all grown up, his gang of thieves. You know, they are running the town, they are conning everybody, and they're setting up this very elaborate con of this wealthy couple. And it's actually very interesting because I know it's a con. I know what the truth is, like as the reader. I know that he has like adopted this fake identity and that he's spinning this like very elaborate story to this couple to get them to give him a lot of money. But he's so good. He's so good at lying and spinning this story, and it's like so elaborate and in depth that there's times when I'm reading that I forget it's not real. And then I like something in the narrative reminds me, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is fake. This isn't real. I keep forgetting. That's how good of a liar he is. I also find it funny because the guards in this city are called Yellow Jackets, and I'm also currently watching the show Yellow Jackets. So every time they mention the Yellow Jackets, in my mind, I'm picturing a group of cannibal teenage girls, not actual like city guards. And I keep having to be like, wrong Yellow Jackets. So far, I am enjoying it. I'm not like, oh my God, I can't put it down, obsessed yet. It's kind of like a little slow at the moment, but not in a bad way. I'm enjoying it. I am kind of reading it at like a slower pace, but I'm enjoying my time so far. It's been a while since we've talked, since I have updated you guys. I did finish The Lives of Lamora. Here's the thing. I'm giving it three stars. I don't think that this is a bad book. Like, I thought the writing was good and compelling. I liked the characters. I just don't think this is the kind of fantasy that I personally really like. I also think that there's maybe an element of like, I built this up in my head a little bit, that I thought I was gonna like it more, because there's literally no way to be a fantasy reader on the internet and not have heard of this series. You Google fantasy recommendations or like top fantasy books, this will come up. So maybe I like built it up in my head. I think if I did have like an issue with it, my biggest issue was, where are the women? Scott Lynch, for $1, name a woman. Name a woman, any woman, please. The very few female characters in here were just like so minor and like in the background. I think I just got spoiled recently from like reading Brandon Sanderson and Robert Bennett Jackson, of like, those are two male fantasy authors who I feel like not only include like main female characters in their books, but write them very well. Like, I really loved Vin in The Final Empire, and then I loved Anna in The Tainted Cup. So I think I got spoiled for male authored fantasy books, and then this one reminded me, oh yeah, no, that's how it usually goes. Yeah, I think the plot of this just kind of underwhelmed me. Like I said, it's not really the style of fantasy that I particularly like. However, and you guys can answer this question for me, I read the synopsis for book 2, and book 2 sounds infinitely better. It's about pirates. That one sounds so much more interesting to me. So, given that I gave this 3 stars, and I wasn't crazy about it, should I read book 2? You guys can let me know. I will say I'm very happy that I finally read this. Like I said, this is a book that's been on my TBR for over 10 years. And I always held on to it because it is one of those fantasy books that is like lauded as being one of the best. So I'm glad that this is a book I can like check off my list. I've kind of lately been going through like some of the older classic fantasies and finally reading them. So I am glad that I read this, even though I'm not in love with it. I am 150 pages into The Man Who Died Twice, and I'm already obsessed. I love it so much, and I'm very surprised because the first book, I didn't dislike it, but I was very like neutral about it. I think I gave it 3 stars. I liked the characters, but I didn't really care for the plot or the mystery. This one's so good. Like, I don't know what it is that is different about this one. I can't really pinpoint it. I just feel like everything is better. I'm obsessed with the characters. I love the plot. I love the way that all of the characters and the storylines and the perspectives are like coming together. I think that was another thing that I didn't love about the first one, is that I felt like there were too many perspectives. I don't think that in this one. I like all the perspectives. I like all the characters. The mystery is better, more intriguing. It's just better. I've already cried. I've laughed. There's one aspect of this that's just so funny to me, and that is the character of Joyce. It's such like a minor plot point so far, but it is so funny. She created an Instagram account. She's like trying to pick a username for her account, but her name is already taken. So she's like trying other options. She's like, oh, when I was a kid, my nickname was Great Joy, so I'm gonna make my username @GreatJoy. Oh, but that one's taken. So let me do @GreatJoy44, because that's the year she was born. Also taken. So then she's like, oh, let me do my daughter's year of birth, 69, @GreatJoy69. Boom, that one's not taken. And then she starts getting like all of these DMs from men, and she's like, oh my God, everyone's DMing me. What is this? It's just like little things like that that are just very funny and very enjoyable. The plot of this one, there's kind of like 2 coinciding plots. One of them is that at the very beginning of the book, Ibrahim gets mugged and ends up in the hospital, and so the other Thursday Murder Club people are trying to make sure that the guy who did it gets what's coming to him. And then the other plot is that Elizabeth gets a message from a dead man, and so she goes to investigate, and it ends up being her ex-husband who needs her help because he stole all these diamonds, and the person who the diamonds belong to are now after him. The plot is far more interesting in this one. I feel a lot more attached to the characters, and I'm just really enjoying it. I actually feel like it could be a 5-star, which is crazy. I don't know that I've ever read a series where the first book I gave 3 stars and then the second book I gave 5 stars. I don't think that's ever happened. It could be like a 4.5. I don't know. I still have half of the book left, so things could change, but I'm just really enjoying it so far. I finished. It is 5 stars. It is absolutely 5 stars. I can't believe it, because the first book, I mean, I liked it, but I wasn't obsessed. I was obsessed with this one. Everyone who told me to continue with the series, you were correct. Katie Coulson, I owe you an apology. You were so correct. I doubted you, but you were correct. This was amazing. And you know what? I didn't even put this on my series tracker because I didn't think I wanted to continue the series, even though I already owned the second book. But I will be correcting my mistakes. I will add it to my series tracker and try to get book 3 soon. I really can't pinpoint what the difference is between book 1 and this book. I think it really just comes down to I liked the mystery more in this one. And then something about the way that the characters in this one connected to the mystery, I found a lot stronger. It also reminded me of a TV show that I watched recently. So if you like this series, I want to recommend to you a show on Netflix called The Man Inside. It stars Ted Danson, and it follows his character where he goes undercover in a retirement home to investigate a burglary that's going on in there. So it's all about him in this retirement home, like making friends and connections with all of the other people who live there, while also like investigating where this like burglary is going on, who is this jewelry thief. It is so fun. It made me cry a lot, it made me laugh a lot, and I definitely think if you like this series, you should watch that show because it was so good. But thank you to Katie Coulson for pushing me to read this and giving me a 5 star. I have to address the elephant in the room. For you guys, this is probably still towards the beginning of this vlog. For me, this is the end. So you're now seeing this a little bit out of order now because I have been reading this book for 2 months. It has been 2 months since I started this. It's actually crazy. I've been dragging it out and avoiding coming and making an update for many reasons. I think everyone is gonna unsubscribe from me for what I'm about to say, but it must be said, this book is boring. I'm actually so shocked. I am so shocked at these turn of events because the way that people talk about this series, it is the greatest thing ever written. And here's the thing, that may be true, but I have a question. When you guys say that the Robin Hobb universe is amazing, are you talking about this book? Are you talking about this specific book, or are you talking about the rest of the series? Because one thing about this book is it was boring. It was so boring. I feel like the problem I had in this book is that it felt only like setup. And what it's setting up sounds very interesting. Where I think it could go in the future in the series, that sounds interesting, but this book was so boring, and I hate setup books. I hate a setup book. Basically, this whole book is following Fitz. At the start of the book, he is towards the end of his life. He's like older, grown, and he's retelling the events of his life. And so this whole book is like him as a child and growing up and all of this abuse that he faced because he's a bastard and he was treated really horribly. It's very detailed backstory. That's like what this book is. It's just very detailed backstory. But for me, this didn't work because the plot wasn't interesting. You guys can disagree with me. I'm sure most of you will. I think this book would be more effective for me if you had combined it with the way that The Lies of Locke Lamora was written. So the Lies of Locke Lamora, which you guys have already heard me talk about at this point, you're following Locke Lamora like more present day in his life, where he's a thief. He's like running this big con, and he's with this big group of thieves. But then in between every couple chapters, you get his backstory. So you're going back and forth between like him at his like prime of this like notorious thief, but then you're also getting his backstory of him as a kid being abused, growing up, learning how to become a thief, all of that. And I think that as like a narrative structure worked a lot better for me than just getting the entire backstory before we're really getting into like the meat of the story. Like, I don't know, I'm so conflicted because I'm very much a person that's like, if I don't like book 1, I don't care how good everyone says the rest of the series is, I'll never know. Me personally, I will never know. But there is like a little piece of me that is still so curious. because I cannot believe that when people hype up this series so hard that they're talking about this book. I can't believe that. There has to be something else later. I don't want to be done with Robin Hobb. Like, I want to try Robin Hobb again. So should I continue? Should I read book 2? Or is there another series by Robin Hobb that you think I would like better? If you told me at the beginning of this video that I would be giving this 2 stars, I would not believe you. I feel offended on her behalf that I'm giving it 2 stars. I'm so sorry, Miss Hobb. This was just boring. And on top of that, I didn't care about Fitz. Yeah, as I said, I've been reading this for 2 months. It kind of put me in a huge slump. I DNF'd it almost every 50 pages and then convinced myself to pick it back up. And then another 50 pages would go by, another week would go by, and I'd be like, nope, DNFing it. And then I'd come back to it. I really tried. I really gave it my best try. I'm so sorry, Erin. I feel so bad. But I had to speak my truth. Everyone loves this book in this series, and I had to represent for us who did not like it. We are an underrepresented demographic, and I am here to speak for us all. So I just read King of Wrath in one sitting. I intended all day to film like an update clip. I just could not put the book down, and I ended up reading it in like 4 hours. This was exactly what I needed right now. Like, I'm giving it 4 stars. It's not a favorite book. It's not the best book that I've read, but it is exactly what I needed today in this moment. It was the perfect book for me to read. I have been really going through it lately. I've had a lot going on, and I've found that I've been having a really hard time to like fully immerse myself in anything that I'm reading. And like, because of that, I've been reading books so slowly. I've been reading books over the course of like many weeks, which is so unlike me. I'm very much like a 1 or 2 sittings kind of reader, but I've been dragging books out for so long because I can't like fully get into them where like the whole world melts away. But this made the whole world melt away, and that is what I wanted. That is what I needed. Anna Huang came to my rescue. I haven't read one of her books in a really, really long time, and I've always really enjoyed her, but she's never been like a romance author that I think of as being one of my favorites, or whenever she like has a new release, I'm like, oh my God, I have to get that. I'm pretty sure that the publisher sent me this whole series, and it wasn't like super high up on my radar for some reason. So I wasn't super optimistic when I went into it thinking that I would love it, but I did. It was great. And here's the thing, it's not even like, it wasn't unique at all. I do feel like I've read this story before, which maybe added an element to it where it was like kind of comforting and familiar with this type of story and like these type of characters. But I just loved it. I had a great time. Anyway, what this is about, basically. It is a billionaire romance, which I think is one of the things that like put me off to it. I'm just not into billionaire romances. Even though I loved this, it's still not something that I'm like into. I'm like, why can't they just be a millionaire? Millionaire is still a lot. That's still a very rich person. Billionaire, that's too much. That's too much where I'm reading it and I'm like, what human rights violations have you committed to gain your billions? Anyways, this is following Dante, who is a billionaire CEO, and he ends up being blackmailed into this arranged marriage with Vivian. Her father digs up some dirt on Dante and blackmails him and forces him to enter into this contract arranged marriage with his daughter. She doesn't know about this though. She doesn't know that there's a blackmail going on. She just finds out that for her family, she has to marry Dante, and she's very upset about it because she wants to marry for love. But she will kind of do anything to like please her parents. They both become engaged together. She has to move into his manor with him, and neither of them want to marry the other. And then obviously Dante is like very pissed off that he's this like big powerful man who's being blackmailed. The thing I loved most about this book was the groveling, because what I hate so much in romances is when you have a hero who does something really mean to the heroine, and then she gets upset, they break up, but then all he has to do to win her back is be like, I'm so sorry I was mean. And she just like melts into a puddle and is like, it's okay. I hate that so much. I love groveling, and she made him grovel. She made him work for it. And I love that. I love seeing a powerful billionaire CEO down on his knees, begging and groveling. We need more men begging. I also just love the, like, that's my wife. No one can touch my wife. I love that. I love that so much. I'm so glad that Jan picked it for me because, like I said, it just kept getting, like, pushed down, further down my TBR. And I've honestly almost been considering unhauling the whole series, but there was something that was like, no, just wait, try the first book, see if you like it, then decide. So I'm very glad that Jan picked this for me and made me read it because I'm definitely gonna read the rest of the series. I need to add them to my series tracker. But this was such a win. This was such a win. Even though it's 4 stars, not 5, I had a great time. I'm so glad that I read it. I think this kind of saved me from falling into a slump. Okay, I'm going to start Jordaline's pick now, which is A Taste of Gold and Iron by Alexandra Rowland. All I know about this is that it's a gay fantasy about a prince and his bodyguard. I also think it's kind of like more of like a political fantasy, and I think it's a standalone, which I love. I do have higher hopes for this one than the other fantasy books that I've read in this video, simply for the fact that it is gay. That already gives it a step up, but I'm gonna get started because it is a little bit on the long side. It's just about 500 pages, so it probably will take me a little bit to read. Please, gay fantasy, don't let me down. Okay, before I give you guys my book update, I have to show you these earrings that I just got. My mom and I went to the fair and I found these adorable star earrings, but inside of them, let me see if I can show you like a close-up. Inside of them is confetti that's made out of like pressed flowers. I was obsessed with these flower earrings and now I cannot stop wearing them. I wanted to update you guys. I am over 100 pages into A Taste of Gold and Iron. I love it. I am obsessed. I'm obsessed. I love it so much. I need to take a moment. Thank you, Jordaline, for picking this for me because I am so obsessed with it. It's already feeling immediately like a 5-star. So basically what this is about, it takes place in this fantasy world called Aristat, and you're following the prince. His name is Cadeau. His sister is the ruler, so he's like the second in line prince, but he has tons of anxiety. The role of being royalty and a prince weighs very heavily on him and it gives him a lot of anxiety, and he's very prone to panic attacks. And at the start of the book, he is assigned a new guard, and because he has all of these panic attacks and he has a lot of anxiety, it causes him to make some very big mistakes at the beginning of the book. So his new guard, Evermer, immediately has a bad impression of him and thinks that he's just like a frivolous royal who doesn't care about anyone, who doesn't care about consequences, who doesn't think about anyone but himself. He just like gets the wrong impression of him off the bat. But the whole book is like a very slow burn buildup of their relationship. And eventually Evermer starts to see the true Prince Cadeau and see that like all of these things that he was clocking as like being a spoiled royal is actually just Cadeau trying to deal with his intense anxiety. It's very slow burn, very angsty. There is also like a plot happening outside of their dynamic where there are these like counterfeit coins that keep showing up and this break-in at the shipyard, and so Cadeau and some of his guards are trying to investigate and find out what's going on. There's also a bit of like a tension, rivalry between Cadeau and his sister's baby daddy. So there's a lot of like political drama going on. It is so good so far. I love Cadeau and Evermer so much. And I feel like so far the slow burn is crazy. It is so slow, but that's like what I really love. I feel like this book is setting up like a very strong foundation for them to have a great relationship later on. Like it's laying all of the groundwork. One of the scenes that I just read was so good. Never did I think hair washing would be so romantic. I just love it. This is what I needed after not really loving the other fantasy books that I read in this video. Honestly, I just needed a gay one. I think that's all I needed. I just needed the gays to come through, and come through they did. Oh no. I've been sitting outside and I wanted to update you guys. I think it's too windy. It just got so windy. I think I have to go back inside. The wind is crazy right now. It was so nice a second ago. Okay, hang on. Let's go back inside. Anyways, I was trying to say, I finished this yesterday, actually. I did sprints where it was like, these sprints won't end until I finish this book, because I really needed to like push myself to finish this. Not because I wasn't enjoying it, but I had like a 3-day migraine this week. And so every day I was like trying to read a little bit of it, but it just wasn't happening. I was just sitting outside and I was kind of rereading certain parts. This is 5 stars. I loved this so much. I was obsessed with it. It was everything that I wanted and more. Like, oh, the romance, the chemistry, the yearning. These boys invented yearning. They yearned like no other has ever yearned. The love, the devotion. I loved everything about it. The writing was great, the world building. I feel like there was enough plot outside the romance, but definitely like the romance was the focal point, but it felt like there was enough substance outside of that as well. The characters were amazing. Like everything about it, I just loved. And I'm so excited to read more by Alexandra Rowland, because I actually looked it up and it looks like all of her fantasy books that she has written take place in the same world. They're just not like connected by characters, but they all take place in the same world. And I actually have another one of her books on my physical TBR. It's called A Conspiracy of Truths. And I'm actually wondering if that is connected to, there was a certain character in this book that can tell whenever anyone is lying. And I'm wondering, because that's called Conspiracy of Truths, I'm wondering if that character maybe is involved in the other book. But this was so good. I don't even want to say too much about like what happens in the second half, because it really is just such a slow burn, slow building story. The direction that it went, I loved the idea of like mutual devotion, mutual worshiping, because obviously there's like a power imbalance where one of them is a prince and the other one is his hired guard. So there is this imbalance, and that is something that like weighed very heavily on Hadot. As I said, like he had a lot of anxiety when it came to his princely duties and his power. And so I loved the idea of it being like, okay, yes, you worship me, but I also worship you back. And like the ways that they each showed up for each other and cared for each other. It was just so good. It was so good. Easy 5 stars. Definitely gonna be one of my favorite books of the year. Thank you, Jordaline, for coming through. That is the end of this vlog and all of the books that I read, chosen by some wonderful booktubers. Honestly, I think this is the most accomplished I feel after any of my TBR Tackle episodes, because all of these books were kind of like, not pushing me out of my comfort zone, but for one reason or another, they were all books that I was like on the fence about reading, whether they were super long, a series I wasn't really sure if I wanted to continue, a series I wasn't even sure if I wanted to start, and then 2 classic fantasies that I have had on my TBR for 10 years. Leave it to all of these booktubers for pushing me out of my comfort zone and really putting me through it. They put me through it the past couple months. So with these 5 books read, my updated total for TBR Tackle, drumroll, 150 books, which means we're down 100 books from when I started this series, which is crazy. Lately, I've kind of been feeling like I have not been making any progress in TBR Tackle, but seeing that I'm down 100 books really motivates me. I don't think my physical TBR has been in the 100s since I started BookTube, honestly. And I am reading so many books that I've owned for a long time, getting through a bunch of series that I've been wanting to get through. So this kind of like renewed my motivation. Thank you guys so much for watching, and be sure to check out all of the booktubers who participated in this video. They're all linked down below. And as always, the playlist for my previous TBR Tackle episodes are linked down below if you have missed episodes or want to catch up. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in my next video. Bye!